Welcome to our channel History of Coins, where we explore the hidden gems of numismatics. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of U.S. state quarter-dollar coins, as some of these coins are rare and can make you rich overnight. In this video, we are gonna uncover the rarest coins and their values. So make sure to watch the complete video and find out if you have one of these. Now let's continue our today's video. Top 1 today, we've got something truly fascinating to talk about. An American classic that could be worth a small fortune. The Washington quarter dollar from the year 1965. Now, at first glance, this coin might not look like anything special. It's just a quarter, right? 25 cents. You've probably handled hundreds of them without giving them a second thought. But what if I told you that one specific version of the 1965 Washington quarter could be worth as much as $80,000? Yes, you heard that right. Stick with me because we're about to dive deep into what makes this coin so special, so rare, and so incredibly valuable. Let's rewind a bit and talk about why the 1965 Washington quarter is such an interesting piece of American coinage. First, it helps to understand the time period. In the early 1960s, silver was becoming increasingly expensive. Up until 1964, quarters were made of 90% silver. But in 1965, everything changed. That was the year the United States Mint made the switch from silver to a copper-nickel-clad composition. This was a huge shift in American coinage history. Because of this transition, the 1965 quarter became the first year that quarters were no longer made of silver. Instead, they were minted using layers of copper and nickel bonded together. So, if you find a regular 1965 quarter, it's probably not worth much more than face value. But there are exceptions, and that's where things get exciting. You see, not all 1965 quarters were created equal. During the production shift, some quarters were accidentally struck on the older silver planchets, the blank discs used for minting coins. These silver planchets were left over from the 1964 minting run and somehow made their way into the 1965 production line. And that's exactly where the magic happens. These rare 1965 silver quarters are what collectors dream about. They look almost identical to the standard copper-nickel version, but the difference lies in the metal content and the weight. A silver 1965 quarter will weigh slightly more than a clad one, around 6.25 grams compared to 5.67 grams. They'll also have a distinctly different ring when dropped and lack the visible copper line on the edge that you'll find on modern quarters. Finding one of these silver planchet-era quarters is like discovering hidden treasure. They're so rare that only a small number have been authenticated and confirmed by professional coin grading services. But those few examples have turned out to be incredibly valuable. And it's not just silver planchet errors that make the 1965 quarter interesting. There are other types of errors that have surfaced over the years, and each one adds to the coin's mystique. Some coins from this year were struck off-center, double-struck, or even struck on the wrong planchet entirely, like a dime or a foreign coin blank. These minting anomalies are highly sought after by collectors because they're one of a kind. No two error coins are exactly the same, which makes each one a unique piece of numismatic history. Now let's talk about condition. Like with most coins, the value of a 1965 quarter skyrockets if it's in pristine, uncirculated condition. Coins that have never been in circulation, ones that were preserved right from the mint, are incredibly rare. Add an error on top of that, and you've got something truly special. These coins are typically sent to professional grading companies like PCGS or NGC, where they're authenticated and graded based on their condition and rarity. For collectors, owning a rare error coin like the 1965 silver quarter isn't just about the money. It's about holding a piece of history in your hands. It's about the thrill of the hunt, the possibility that the next quarter you find might be worth more than your entire coin collection. And that's what makes coin collecting so addictive and so rewarding. Oh, now you're probably wondering, just how much can one of these rare 1965 quarters be worth? Are you sitting down for this? One verified 1965 Washington quarter, struck on a silver planchet and graded in exceptional condition, sold for a jaw-dropping amount. It didn't go for $100 or $1,000 or even $10,000. That it sold for an astonishing $80,000. That's right. 80,000 United States dollars for a single quarter. A coin that, on the surface, looks like pocket change, but is actually a rare gem hidden in plain sight So if you've got some old coins lying around, now might be the perfect time to start digging through them. Pay attention to the dates, weigh your coins if you have a scale, and look closely at the edges. You never know, you just might have a hidden treasure in your hands. Top 2, we're diving into a coin that may look completely ordinary but could secretly be worth a fortune. The United States Washington quarter dollar from the year 1967. Yes, you heard that right. Just a regular-looking 1967 quarter. You might even have one in your pocket right now, or maybe it's sitting in a jar somewhere in your house, completely forgotten. But before you spend it on a soda or drop it in a parking meter, you might want to take a closer look, because this coin has a story, and in some rare cases, it can be worth an absolutely unbelievable amount of money. Let's set the stage. It's 1967. The United States is in the middle of social and political change. The space race is in full swing, and coin collectors are facing a completely new landscape. Just a couple of years earlier, in 1965, the U.S. Mint stopped making quarters out of 90% silver due to the rising cost of the metal. Instead, they switched to a copper-nickel-clad composition, a cheaper alloy designed for long-term circulation. So by 1967, all Washington quarters were supposed to be made with this new, non-silver material. But here's where it gets interesting. While most of the 1967 quarters are indeed clad and not made of silver, certain errors and anomalies from this year have caught the attention of collectors across the country, and for good reason. Some of these rare 1967 quarters were struck under unusual circumstances, using the wrong planchets, or with striking mistakes that turned them into incredibly valuable collector's items. One of the most famous and valuable errors is the rare quarter from 1967 that was accidentally struck on a silver planchet. This was never supposed to happen. Silver was phased out in 1964, but somehow, a few leftover silver blanks found their way into the minting machines. The result? A 1967 quarter that looks just like any other, but is actually made of silver. That one small error completely transforms the coin from ordinary to extraordinary, and the surprises don't stop there. There have also been reports of 1967 quarters struck on dime planchets. Yes, you heard that right, meaning they're smaller in size and weight, with incomplete designs because they were struck on blanks meant for 10-cent coins. These error coins are incredibly rare and always grab the attention of seasoned collectors. Other known errors from this year include off-center strikes, double strikes, and even quarters with missing clad layers. Some coins appear with partial copper exposure, giving them a unique, almost artistic look. And because mint errors are never repeated exactly the same way, each one is completely unique, making it a one-of-a-kind addition to any collection. Another detail that makes the 1967 quarter stand out is that it was produced during a time when the U.S. Mint suspended the use of mint marks on coins. So you won't see a little D or S under the date. That's because the Mint wanted to discourage people from hoarding coins by removing identifying features during those transitional years. This small historical footnote makes coins from 1965 to 1967 a unique trio in American coinage. Now let's talk condition, because when it comes to value, condition is everything. Coins that have been circulating for years tend to show signs of wear, scratches, faded details, discoloration. But coins that were never used, stored carefully since the day they were minted, can fetch much higher prices. A 1967 quarter in mint state condition, especially one with a rare error, is a dream find for any collector. It's also important to know that these valuable coins often need to be authenticated and graded by professionals, such as PCGS or NGC. That official grade, based on the coin's condition and rarity, is what makes all the difference when it comes time to sell. So if you think you've got something special, it might be worth sending it in for certification. Now here's where the story reaches its peak. Among all the 1967 quarters that have been found over the years, there's one specific example that sent shockwaves through the coin collecting community. This coin, struck with a rare error and preserved in extraordinary condition, didn't just break records, it shattered expectations. It wasn't sold for $100 or even a few thousand. This 1967 Washington quarter dollar sold for an unbelievable $79,000. Yes, you heard that right. 79,000 US dollars for a single quarter. Just 25 cents in face value, but nearly 80 grand in collector value. That's the kind of coin that turns pocket change into life-changing money. So what are you waiting for? The next time you're digging through your change, flipping through your old coin collection, or helping a relative sort through their spare coins, keep an eye out for that 1967 quarter. Check the edges, weigh it if you can, look for signs of silver, and inspect every detail. Because that unassuming little coin just might be your ticket to the big time. Top 3, we're going to talk about a coin that you've probably seen hundreds of times, maybe even spent without thinking. But what if I told you that a Washington quarter from the year 1973 could be worth a fortune? Yes, you heard that right. A simple 1973 quarter, just 25 cents on the surface, could actually be a hidden gem worth tens of thousands of dollars. So before you toss that old change aside or feed it into a vending machine, let's take a closer look at what makes this particular coin so special, so rare, and so incredibly valuable to collectors all over the world. Let's start with the basics. The Washington quarter has been a staple in American currency since 1932. Designed to honor George Washington on the 200th anniversary of his birth, the coin features his iconic profile on the obverse, or front, and for most of its life, it had the familiar eagle design on the reverse. By 1973, these coins were being produced in massive quantities for circulation. But here's the twist. Not all quarters from this year are created equal. The 1973 Washington quarter was minted in copper-nickel clad, just like every quarter produced after the silver was removed from U.S. coinage in 1965. That means a regular 1973 quarter doesn't have any silver in it, and, at first glance, it wouldn't raise any eyebrows. But as with many coins from the past, the real value is found in the rare errors. Those fascinating little mistakes made during the minting process that turn an ordinary coin into an extraordinary collector's prize. One of the most talked about errors from 1973 involves quarters that were accidentally struck on silver planchets. These planchets were likely leftovers from earlier minting runs or perhaps slipped into the coin presses by mistake. While they look almost identical to the regular clad quarters, these silver error coins can be identified by their weight. Approximately 6.25 grams instead of the standard 5.67 grams, and by the absence of the copper stripe along the edge. Now imagine this, a coin that should never have existed. A 1973 quarter that's made of silver when it was supposed to be clad. That's the kind of rarity that gets collectors excited. These coins are not only rare, they're extremely hard to identify without close inspection, which means many of them may still be out there, sitting unnoticed in collections, change jars, or old dresser drawers. And it's not just silver planchet errors. Some 1973 quarters were struck on foreign coin blanks, which means they're slightly smaller or thinner than a typical quarter. Others were struck off-center, double-struck, or have missing details due to a misaligned die. These types of errors are highly collectible because they represent one-of-a-kind mistakes that the U.S. Mint never intended to release into the world. What makes these coins even more special is their condition. A 1973 quarter with an error is already valuable, but if that same coin is in mint state, uncirculated condition, its value can increase dramatically. Coins that have never been used, that still have their original shine, sharp details, and no signs of wear, are what collectors dream of finding. They're like time capsules from the past, frozen in perfect form. Now here's something many people don't realize. In 1973, the U.S. Mint also produced special collector's editions of coins, proof coins, and mint sets. But even those don't carry the same level of value as a genuine error coin discovered in circulation. And the thrill of finding one of these rare coins where you least expect it is what makes this hobby so exciting. You never know when you'll come across something extraordinary. So here's what you should do if you come across a 1973 quarter. Check its weight if you can. Examine the edge for that telltale copper line. Look closely for anything unusual, off-center strikes, doubled images, weak lettering, or anything that looks just a little off. Sometimes, what looks like a flaw is actually a treasure, and now, the moment you've been waiting for. Just how much can one of these rare 1973 Washington quarters actually be worth? Well, among the handful of extraordinary finds out there, one particular 1973 quarter, featuring a dramatic minting error and preserved in stunning condition, was authenticated by professional grading experts and later sold at a major auction for an eye-watering amount. That coin sold for an unbelievable $76,000. Yes, that's right. 76,000 United States dollars for a single 25-cent coin. That's the kind of discovery that turns an ordinary day into a once-in-a-lifetime moment. So before you brush off that old change lying around, take a second look. That 1973 quarter might be more than just spare change. It could be the key to a small fortune. Top 4, we're diving deep into a coin that millions of people have held in their hands, without ever realizing just how special it could be. I'm talking about the United States of America Washington quarter dollar from the year 1977. At first glance, the 1977 quarter might seem like just another piece of spare change. You've probably tossed one into a vending machine or dropped it in a tip jar without giving it a second thought. But what if I told you that, under just the right circumstances, one of these seemingly ordinary coins could actually be worth tens of thousands of dollars? Let's unravel the mystery behind the 1977 quarter and why certain versions of this coin have collectors around the world on high alert. Now, the Washington quarter has been a cornerstone of American currency since 1932. It's known for its timeless design, George Washington's profile on the front, and, in the 1977 edition, a proud eagle with outstretched wings perched on a bundle of arrows on the reverse. These coins were minted for daily circulation, made of copper nickel clad, and intended to be used in everyday transactions. Nothing flashy, right? Well, not quite. Here's where things get fascinating. While most 1977 quarters are worth their face value, just 25 cents, there are certain rare errors and misprints that turn them into collector's gold. These aren't your run-of-the-mill coins. These are the coins that slipped through the cracks at the U.S. Mint and became hidden treasures waiting to be discovered. One of the most exciting types of errors found in 1977 quarters is the off-metal strike. In rare cases, these coins were accidentally struck on the wrong type of metal blank, such as a planchet meant for a penny, a nickel, or even a foreign coin. When that happens, the coin ends up being the wrong size, weight, or color. Imagine finding a quarter that looks copper red like a penny. That's not just cool, that's valuable. Another sought-after error is the double die. This happens when the coin is struck more than once by the die, creating a shadow or doubled appearance in the lettering or design. On the 1977 quarter, some collectors have discovered doubling in the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." These coins can be extremely rare, and depending on their condition, can fetch big money. Let's not forget about off-center strikes, which are coins that weren't properly aligned during the minting process. This results in a coin where part of the design is missing or pushed off to one side. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more collectible and valuable it becomes. Some even show the blank planchet along one edge, making them truly standout pieces in any collection. And then there's the missing clad layer error. This occurs when one of the outer nickel layers doesn't bond to the copper core during minting, resulting in a quarter with an unusual reddish or dull appearance. These errors don't just look different. They're rare enough to make collectors take notice immediately. But here's the most important part. The value of these error coins depends heavily on their condition. A 1977 quarter with a rare error that's been sitting in circulation for decades with scratches and wear will still be valuable, but not nearly as much as the same coin in pristine, uncirculated condition. That's why collectors always dream of finding a coin that's not only rare, but also well-preserved. A coin that's been kept in a collection, tucked away in a drawer, or even forgotten in a roll of change could hold incredible value if it's in the right condition. Now, I know what you're thinking. How do I know if I have one of these rare quarters? First, start by checking the coin's edges. Does it show the typical copper stripe? If not, that could be a clue. Then look closely at the lettering and design. Do you see any doubling? Is the coin perfectly centered, or is something off? Does it feel lighter or heavier than a normal quarter? Every small detail counts. And finally, if you suspect you have something valuable, don't guess. Get it graded. Professional coin grading services like PCGS or NGC can authenticate your coin, verify the error, and assign it a grade that determines its market value. Trust me, if you're sitting on a rare coin, getting it professionally graded is worth every penny. Now, it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for. 1 Extraordinary 1977 Washington quarter, featuring a rare minting error and preserved in exceptional condition, was examined and verified by experts. When it went up for auction, it stunned collectors and investors alike by reaching an incredible final price. That single quarter sold for $72,000. Yes, you heard that right. 72,000 US dollars for a single 25-cent coin. That's the kind of find that makes coin hunting so thrilling. A quarter that could be sitting in a cup holder, a coin jar, or even in your wallet right now. Worth more than some cars, and even more than some people's yearly salaries. So, if this doesn't inspire you to start checking your spare change, I don't know what will. The world of coin collecting is full of surprises, and who knows? You could be holding the next big discovery in your hands right now. Top 5, we're talking about a coin that most people completely overlook. It's common, it's familiar, and it's probably passed through your hands more than once. The United States Washington quarter dollar from the year 1979. Yep, just a regular-looking 1979 quarter? Or is it? Before you think it's just 25 cents, hold on, because there's a version of this coin that could be worth a jaw-dropping $70,000. That's not a typo. So stick around, listen closely, and you might just learn something that could turn your spare change into serious cash. Let's start with a little backstory. The Washington quarter has been a part of American currency since 1932, and by 1979, it was a familiar sight in everyone's wallet and pocket. These coins featured the classic portrait of George Washington on the front, designed by John Flanagan, and an eagle with outstretched wings on the back. By that time, the composition was copper-nickel clad, as silver had been removed from circulating quarters in 1965. So, if you look at a 1979 quarter, you'll see the date. No mint mark unless it's from Denver or San Francisco, and that same eagle on the reverse. But don't let that fool you. Among the millions of 1979 quarters that were minted and spent across the country, there are a few that contain mysterious and valuable errors that have made collectors sit up and take notice. Let's talk about what makes the 1979 quarter special and potentially worth thousands. First, mint errors. The U.S. Mint produces billions of coins every year, and while the process is carefully controlled, mistakes can and do happen. These mistakes are what collectors live for. In the case of the 1979 quarter, there are several types of known errors that can skyrocket its value. One of the most sought-after errors is the off-metal strike. That's when a quarter is accidentally struck on a blank mint for a different coin, such as a penny or even a foreign coin. The result? A quarter that looks not quite right. Maybe it's smaller than usual, or maybe it has a weird color or weight. These rare off-metal strikes are incredibly collectible because they should have never existed in the first place. Then there are double die errors. A double die happens when the coin is struck more than once by the die, causing the design elements, like letters or numbers, to appear doubled. In some 1979 quarters, collectors have found doubling on the word Liberty or on the date. These double die errors are fairly rare and extremely valuable when found in high-grade condition. Another fascinating error involves the coin's edge. Most 1979 quarters should have a reeded edge, that series of tiny grooves running around the outer rim. But in rare cases, a quarter might be missing part of the edge detail or the entire reading due to a misalignment or weak strike. Some coins even have partial or missing clad layers, which gives the coin a dull, reddish, or coppery appearance. That's another sign that something unusual and potentially valuable is going on. And of course, there are off-center strikes. These happen when the coin blank is not properly aligned with the die, resulting in a coin where part of the design is cut off or missing altogether. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin becomes. Now, error coins by themselves are fascinating, but their condition is what truly determines their worth. A coin with a dramatic error that's been worn down from years of circulation won't fetch nearly as much as a similar coin in mint or uncirculated condition. That's why collectors go wild when they find an error coin that's not only rare, but also crisp, sharp, and beautifully preserved. And here's something else that makes the 1979 quarter especially interesting. Because it came at the tail end of a decade marked by inflation, economic changes, and high demand for coinage, the mint was pumping out coins at full speed. That high production volume increases the chances of mistakes, and increases the chances that rare error coins slipped into circulation unnoticed. So now you're probably wondering, how do I find one of these valuable coins? Start by going through your old change, coin jars, and any old collections you or your relatives might have. Pay attention to the details. Look for odd colors, off-center designs, unusual weights, or doubling in the text. You don't need to be an expert. You just need to be observant. And if you think you found something, don't guess. Take it to a professional coin dealer or submit it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC. They can authenticate your coin, determine if it's a known error, and give you an official grade, which will help you understand exactly how much it might be worth on the open market. Now, let's get to the part you've all been waiting for. Among the known 1979 Washington quarters, one particular example stunned the coin collecting world. It featured a rare and dramatic mint error, was preserved in near-perfect condition, and was authenticated and graded by a professional service. When this coin hit the auction block, it drew serious attention and serious money. That single, incredible 1979 Washington quarter sold for an astonishing $70,000. Yes, you heard me right. 70,000 United States dollars for one quarter. That's a life-changing amount of money for a coin that might have gone unnoticed for years. A reminder that history, rarity, and a little bit of luck can turn spare change into a small fortune. So, the next time you're about to hand over a quarter, take a second to look. Because who knows, your next find might just be one of the rarest coins of the decade. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey through the hidden world of rare coins, make sure to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and tap that notification bell so you never miss another opportunity to learn, discover, and maybe even strike gold. Until next time, keep checking your change, and happy collecting.